This is crazy. I don't have a car anymore. It got sold and it feels surreal. I just want to document this moment because Monday, my car was working great. Monday night, it stopped working. Saturday morning, afternoon, I no longer own the car. That's probably some quick decision making. A few weeks ago, I was talking to someone at work and was explaining about these little miniatures and got kind of inspired to start another one. I've done 2 more before, which you can see in my previous videos, but this one is music themed with like mini violins and guitars and record players and cassette tapes and some maps of the world and books. It just was something that seemed really exciting to put together. So I purchased this about a few weeks ago and then it arrived, but I was so busy with car things, I didn't really get around to starting it. And I finally started it and it took pretty much all weekend to do, which was good because I didn't have a vehicle and I was getting just so tired. My brain was so tired of doing all this research and spending hours and hours of trying to look at different model, make combinations and price points. So this was really therapeutic. It was so much fun to build. The little posters, the instruments, the little details, the lamps, the lighting. So yeah, I just wanted to show you some of that footage. Then I did some meal prepping and spent some time outside, kind of in between all this car trouble, and just kind of really enjoyed the ecosystem outside with the squirrels and the birds. It just was good to get my mind off of just frantically researching and just really understanding the car market. Whenever I feel like there's so much going on in my life or in my mind, I force myself to go sit outside because nature is not stressful in the sense of it's on its own timeline and there's so much life and activity, but it's not anxious. It's just really calming, and I think it was just helpful to get some fresh air. The reason why I like the Book Nook is I think it has equal balances of stress and then payoff. If I'm doing a puzzle, it's easy, it's therapeutic, but I can't really mess up. When I'm doing the Book Nook, you have to follow the instructions right. It can be frustrating if you accidentally break something or you glue something the wrong way or it doesn't quite fit right. And it's kind of nerve-wracking to know if it's going to work out. You have limited pieces. If you break them, they're broken. I didn't know if the lights would work. And so when I finished it, it was just such an incredible sense of satisfaction because it was just full of things that I really love. The coffee, the music, the chess piece, the records, the instruments, the books, the art. Yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this one a lot, and it was so helpful for me. I loved all the details, like the little lamp, the coffee, the record player, the little maps, the pictures, the wine glasses, the wine, the balcony. It was just so much fun. Then another project I had picked up before my car broke down was this Vincent van Gogh paint by numbers. the sunflowers. And so it was just also helpful for me to have something to do while I was watching videos about cars and just kind of decompressing. It's been about a week and about a day or so since I found out that my car had issues, and I decided to sell the car and get a new car. And it's been really discouraging at times, but there's been moments where I felt so grateful for the people who care, the people in my life who gave me advice and had empathy for me and offered to give rides and give rides. So I have been very, very grateful for that, but then also very discouraged. Today, the person who normally could give me a ride couldn't due to another emergency on their side. And so I work from home, and I did end up going to the office because somebody else happened to also go, and it worked out. So I'm really just taking it one day at a time, but I've been just spending hours researching this market. And right now in Kansas City in April 2024, from what I've seen, it's like if you want a beater car, like it might be junk, or it might be like 200,000 miles, or it might be like 25 years old. That's like the 2,000 to 3,000 range. And then something kind of comparable to what I had, which is like 15 to 20 years, that's drivable, that's high mileage, like 150,000 and plus. That's kind of going around 5,000 to 6,000. Then in the $10,000 range, it seems like it's around 10 years old with about 100,000 miles. And then if you want a reputable brand that has reliability, such as the Toyota Corolla, and if I wanted it 4 to 5 years old with about 50,000 miles, which was kind of my initial desire, that's kind of around $20,000, which is really crazy to me. And then the cheapest new car is 17,000, and then it just kind of goes up from there. So it's this really interesting moment where I'm also noticing that when I put my car up for sale, in one day I had 50 people reach out, and there were a lot of lowball offers and people, maybe 5 to 10 that were not local. So that was actually really interesting to me. And then when I see all the dealerships and all the lots on Craigslist and on all the car websites and dealer websites and on Facebook Marketplace, it seems like there's a lot of inventory out there, and it seems like there's a lot of people looking to buy a car. Although granted, a lot of people looking on Marketplace, it seemed like, were kind of these small business flipper type people, maybe a mechanic that knows cars and is gonna just flip it when they see a good deal, or fix something for free because they have the skill and then flip it. So it's a really interesting moment here because something's got to give, and right now it's so hard to think about my hard-earned savings going towards something that just seems like it's so high priced, especially when you look at historical data and then you kind of look at what the options are. It's just not exciting. I really don't know what tomorrow will bring. I'm also very open to a lot of options because I think as even I was thinking about this moment, I was remembering when I was 15 and working at this restaurant and just like having to constantly be looking for rides because I wasn't old enough to drive, and just the frustration I felt if somebody couldn't give me a ride, and the responsibility I felt of going to my job. I think even back then I had this desire to just show up and to to be there, and if I had a responsibility, I wanted to fulfill it. And so I think that not having a car really plays into just my independent streak and how it feels. Like in a normal scenario, I probably wouldn't be out and about right now, like on a weeknight. I probably would just be at home. But I think when I don't have a car, I just think about everything else. Or, oh my goodness, like I'm running low on groceries, like how am I gonna get groceries? Then I have this orchestra concert coming up, and I have just like various things, like, oh, a friend who wants to meet up from out of town, like a wedding coming up in May. I got asked to do flowers for a wedding in June. And so it's just this feeling of, I have these responsibilities and commitments, but can I fulfill them? And I think that tension is also matched by my financial future seems uncertain right now, and to be putting a lot of money into a vehicle when there could be other costs coming up makes me nervous. And so I think it's also this feeling of, I am willing to spend money, but it doesn't feel guaranteed that I would actually get, like when some car is 2 or 3 times more, I don't know if it's actually 2 or 3 times better, because some flukes can happen. Like with my car, it had more life on it, but it just, out of the blue, this happened, which is typical for an older car. It was 16 years old, but it was still very unexpected, and did not know, had not heard of any issues, didn't experience any issues before. So I think just kind of understanding that, and then the backdrop of all of this is the last few days I found out that the ministry that I was a part of for the last 6 years, just about, is kind of in its final moments. And I think that is a lot to unpack, just thinking about the last 6 years and the time and the tuition I paid to invest in the Bible college, and just everything kind of around that. And then thinking about the people who are there, who aren't there, who were there, and just kind of processing all that is a lot to consider. And I think that is another thing that was top of mind. I think the reality of that is kind of really in my face of, this is what life is like now, and just kind of taking it one day at a time, essentially.